gorgeous, welcome back to another Sims 4 speed building video. I hope you're all doing well. So today I'm working on the final build in my Willow Creek save file. This is the last build that I'm going to be doing for Willow Creek. Technically I still have one lot left to do, but I think I mentioned this in one of the previous videos. That is like a small lot in the neighborhood where the pancakes live. So I'm just going to build like a small little park there, and I felt like that wouldn't be a very interesting video, so I don't think I'm going to record that. So I think this is actually the last video you're going to see me doing in Willow Creek. I think after this one we're going to be moving on either to a New Crest or to Oasis Springs. I think New Crest, to be honest, because you know that's an empty world, and I think it would be nice to have at least New Crest filled up for my save file. But yeah, so this is going to be a community lot, and as you can probably tell by the title, it's going to be a cozy little jazz cafe. I'm making this in that commercial street that I created, and I really wanted to create a kind of New Orleans French Quarter kind of aesthetic here with lots of old Victorian looking houses all in a row, and I really like how this street came out, and I'm actually super excited to be moving on to other neighborhoods, because even though I love this aesthetic, I love this French Quarter style, I was getting a little bit bored with it. So I'm excited to be moving on to other styles soon. I think for New Crest I am going to create a more, I would say, how do you call it? A suburban, that's the word I was looking for. Suburban aesthetic. And I think for Oasis Springs, I do kind of want to stay with that Mediterranean feel, but perhaps also have some more modern looking builds there. I think for Oasis Springs, I kind of want to bring back a couple of townies from The Sims 2 Strange Town, I think it was called. So there were a couple of very interesting characters in The Sims 2 Strange Town. I think we had Olive Spectre, and we had her son, a nervous subject, who lived with another family who was doing all kinds of creepy tests on him because he was like the Grim Reaper's son or something like that. So it's very interesting characters, and I'm really excited to start creating their storylines as well, and kind of base Oasis Springs of Strangetown in The Sims 2, like I'm basing Willow Creek of Pleasant View in The Sims 2. So yeah. Another thing I wanted to quickly mention to you guys, I have created a playlist, because if you have been following me for a little while, you might know that I mainly do builds for my save file, but just to change it up every once in a while, I do builds in other neighborhoods as well. So recently I did a build in Brindleton Bay. I've also done one for Hanford and Beckley, and I also did a few builds for the New World of Tortosa. And just because I want to still provide some variety on the channel, I think it would get really boring if I would only do builds for my save file and you just see me building in the same neighborhood every time, in the exact same style, same aesthetics every time. So I wanted to avoid that. Yeah. So yeah, I was talking about my playlist, apologies. So I did collect all of the builds that I did for my save file, and I put them in a playlist. So if you're only interested in kind of following along with the storyline of the save file that I have in mind, it is easier for you to find the builds that will be in my save file. And then you can also watch my other builds as well. But I thought that would be pretty handy to have a playlist of those builds. So yeah, and also I put a little description on the playlist, and I really want you guys to check it out, but I'm too excited about it, so I'm going to spoil it anyway. So that is kind of about the backstory of the playlist, because I have thought about it quite a bit. I know that I have mentioned a couple of times that for my save file, because I'm bringing back all these iconic Sims from previous games, so from The Sims 2 and The Sims 3, I have come up with an explanation to kind of the fact that The Sims 4 is in an alternate timeline. I come up with an explanation as to why that is and why it kind of makes sense. So I would say that the storyline for Willow Creek starts with the Goth family. Mortimer Goth, he's a famous scientist, he's a brilliant man, and he lost his wife to an alien abduction. You might know this from The Sims 2. It's like the iconic Bella Goth story. I know that there's lots and lots of different theories out there that kind of speculate about what actually happened to her. There are some people that speculate that they think it was actually Mortimer who was behind her disappearance. I never really quite believed that, and for my save file, I kind of wanted to have a more wholesome storyline for the Goth family. So what I had come up with is Mortimer, he's a brilliant scientist, right? So he invented a time machine. And that meant that he had the chance to go back in time to save Bella Goth, because I would imagine that perhaps he would have tried negotiating with the aliens, trying to get her back and whatnot. But, it didn't work. And so the only way that he could come up with and try and save her is by going back in time and prevent the abduction from happening, right? I would imagine that obviously, if you're a scientist, you wouldn't be allowed to use certain inventions like a time machine for your own personal gain, especially a time machine. It can be very, very dangerous to use that because, it might trigger a different chain of events that might affect everybody and not just yourself. But of course, Mortimer Goth, missing his wife terribly, he thought it was the only opportunity that he could save her, so he did it anyway. So he went back in time to try and save Bella Goth from getting abducted, which meant that he got abducted himself, and now he has an alien child, an alien toddler, and this also triggered another chain of events. For example, Dina, who went after the Goth fortune after Bella Goth got abducted, she now decided to go after the Alto fortune because, Bella Goth was still around, and that meant that her relationship to her sister Nina changed as well, and so on and so forth. So that's kind of how I try to make sense of the fact that The Sims 4 is on an alternate timeline rather than it being a continuation of the story in The Sims 2, if that makes sense, guys. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. So next up, I will be making the townies. I will be setting up their storylines, writing the descriptions, and hopefully sometime next week I'll be able to release the first version of my save file. I think I've mentioned it before, but I am going to be releasing my save file in different versions. So the first version is just going to be a renovation of Willow Creek, and then I think the next one will be Willow Creek plus Newcrest, and then the next one will be Willow Creek plus Newcrest plus Oasis Springs, and we'll just see how far we're going to get towards the other worlds, because I have realized that it takes a lot of time to do all the builds, also because I'm creating videos as well, and now I'm kind of dreading the task of making all the townies and setting up their storylines. I think I'm in for quite a few more hours of work before the first version of the save file is done. And I have no idea how long we have left until The Sims 5, but I definitely think that finishing the save file completely, if I want to do all of the worlds, we're looking at least another year of work, perhaps even more. So yeah, we'll see. Also, guys, I do not have recordings of all of the builds that I did in Willow Creek. I started my YouTube channel a couple of months ago now, like 2 or 3 months ago, and I had already started working on my save file by then. So, but I'll definitely tour it in a save file overview video, and I'm going over the builds that you guys haven't seen already, and I'll go over the townies that I made. So you at least get to see it that way. And yeah, so that is basically all I wanted to mention about my save file. Again, I completely skipped talking about the builds. Honestly, there's not that much to talk about. As you can see, it has like a very, very cozy vibe. It's a jazz cafe. I have a lot of like jazz vibe paintings and stuff. Downstairs, I have some blues music playing because I felt like the jazz music, you know, you couldn't really dance to the jazz music in game. So I opted to use some blues music speakers, but obviously you can change it out for any kind of music that you would like in this lot. It is actually a nightclub, so if you're curious, you can set it up as a bar, I think. But I kind of went with a nightclub because I like the idea of people going here and, you know, going to have a little bit of a boogie downstairs and enjoy a little bit of a drink at the bar. I think this would be a pretty cool place to go on a date or something. So yeah, I quite like it. So the upstairs portion, I would say, is more like a quiet, relaxed area. Maybe your Sims can watch some like stand-up comedy here. I do have some jazz music speakers here, so your Sims can enjoy a little bit more of a quiet ambiance if they're not really into going for a dance and whatnot. So yeah, I really hope you guys like it. Also, I wanted to mention that if you guys have any suggestions of what kind of builds you would like to see next, because I want to do some other builds outside of my save file as well, please make sure to comment them down below, because I'm always looking for new build ideas. And so far I've been really enjoying this experience of sharing my builds and sharing my save file with you guys. You have been amazing, and I cannot imagine that we're already, I believe we're almost at 450 subscribers. So yeah, that's pretty amazing, and I'm very, very thankful, and I'm really enjoying doing this with you guys. But anyways, we are near the end of the speed building part of this video, so I'm going to leave this voiceover right here. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you did by leaving a like or a comment, or feel free to subscribe if you want to see more of my future videos, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Bye!